I think it's very important because I'm kind of like, this is kind of what I'm kind of like about all of this. I like this because it's needed. But I suppose the assembly need to focus on, need to decide what its focus is.
Well, I mean, I think it's a really good idea actually to have an assembly where you can discuss issues that are of relevance at this point in time and possibly feed things into the powers that be, basically.
Well, it means an opportunity and a forum to bring different, voluntary sector organizations together to talk about the sector, look at, various issues, and also we were having a discussion about how we nominate people and we send them to represent us. So I think it's a good thing to have.
I think to me it's just a group of organisations coming together, those who represent the voluntary sector, those who are passionate about the sector, and those who want to find out more about what's happening really.
So for us as researchers today, it's giving us an opportunity to feed in some of our findings and to get feedback on those, and also to hopefully engage people in the sector in discussion around that.
Well, the purpose of the Assembly is to create a space where the sector can come together and formulate views, not one view, but many views on the key issues that are facing us at the moment, because there's so many changes with welfare reform, public service delivery, all of that's a big issue for the sector, so we need a space to discuss it.
Well, I must say Macc is doing great stuff already, and more great to his elbows. I know that there will be challenges ahead, but I would just want to encourage Macc to continue to work with VCS organizations to make the sector more robust, resilient.
Yeah, I think having a forum like this where people can come to and feed concerns in, and also it's almost like maybe a barometer of what people are thinking, and it's just a point where people can know they can come and they can feed in their opinions. So I think that's already a good service as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think Macc could be understanding their groups a lot more, especially the smaller organisations, and maybe in its capacity, building on its capacity so it can support us.
We need something that is like our third sector version of what the City Council do. And this is what this Macc needs to operate as, and not try to be all things to all community group. Be the voice of the third sector, but in a strategic development process. We've been plagued with infrastructure support group for years that never actually done anything.
They need to understand small organisations, they need to listen to our voice a lot more and understand what we do, how we do it, and the support that we need from them also.
I think one of the important things to be aware of is the diversity of the sector, and to be aware that changes that are made to commissioning will have very different impacts on organisations of different types and different sizes. And so to be particularly aware about those that might be smaller or perhaps less well equipped with some of the skills that are needed to participate in commissioning.
They need to start looking at services as opposed to money. They try to save money by cutting services. We can't do it. Really. So it's about services before people, before profit.
Commissioners should talk to us. There's so much we could do if we actually collaborated rather than have this purely commercial relationship which seems to be evolving. So the key thing I keep saying to commissioners at the moment is have a discussion with the sector. We can be creative that way, rather than just have those contract relationships.
I would say it's more important than ever that commissioners actually talk to organizations that are active in a local area and have experience with a certain type of user, that they actually get them into the process when it is about coming up with a specification or actually deciding what is needed. Because I mean, now that resources are so tight, it seems that you really have to use every tool in your toolbox, and definitely the voluntary sector has a lot of experience in certain areas, and they should draw on that.
I think commissioners generally need to be better informed about the sector. I think they need to have a greater understanding of what the sector can offer. I think that's also about not accepting the sector's word for the fact that they're good at getting access to groups that traditional organisations, public sector organisations can't reach. But I think they need generally to be a little bit more educated, a bit more open.
Yes, that we want an equal playing field. We want to be there right from the outset. We want to be involved in the conversations as well as in the review.
Basically, come and see what we're doing here on the ground, the difference that we're making, and ensure that the voluntary sector survives, because it's very important.
Although we might be talking about the voluntary sector, none of this work actually comes for free. It all comes at a cost of people's time and resources. And so I think perhaps the key message is to be aware of that, not to allow the sector to be a kind of a cheap alternative.
Resource the third sector more so that they can help the government.
It's just wrong that the state divests itself of all these services. I mean, you have, as John said, you have a lot of talent that's leaving, basically, and a lot of experience leaving in the form of staff, and I mean, I just think it's a mistake. I think it's not worthy for a civilized country that you have people going to food banks. I really don't. So, I don't know, that's my message, I guess.
And so I think there needs to be a much more honest discussion about the place of the sector, and for me, that seems to me that it's not about providing a low-cost, cheap option to what the public sector can provide, and at the moment it feels like that's how the government frame it.
The government needs to listen to the sector. We can see what the impact of their policies is on the ground. We're hearing horror stories about things like the bedroom tax, the universal credit, and the government should listen to the examples that we're bringing forward if they want to understand what it's really doing in our communities.
Although it's a message you can give back to government, I'm not sure that there's a real receptiveness to listen to a message. And that would be that instead of seeing the voluntary sector as something you can just use as a delivery agency, just something that would deliver your wishes in a sense, your ideology, think a bit more about, much more carefully about what the real attributes and strengths of the voluntary sector are, and think about how you can begin to commission and use those and harness those rather than just trying to commission services that you can just, push your own agenda. As I say, whether they actually listen to that message is a completely different thing.
Yes, the voluntary sector is here. We will continue to be here. We wouldn't be replaced by the big society. We are the big society. So, we are an equal partner in developing the economy and society. So value as such.